What's up, guys? This is Teddy. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This video, we're going to be talking about the strategy pattern in C# design patterns. So the strategy pattern is, if you're familiar with a binary search is not going to be a very common algorithm. A strategy pattern is not going to be a very common algorithm, but they want you to learn, or a lot of times they have you learn strategy pattern because it's going to be fundamental to your understanding of a lot of these design patterns. And if you can learn the strategy pattern, it's a building block for other concepts and other realms of these design patterns, and it's going to help a lot. So I guess if you're just, maybe you're learning this just for production, I guess you could skip this video, but I honestly would not recommend skipping this video. Even though the strategy pattern isn't like the most common, it's still really important. So we'll just go ahead. The program CS, you'll see a lot in these design pattern books and a lot of these design pattern courses is they have what's called a client, but in this case, the program CS is going to be the client. And if from now on, unless I say otherwise, just assume program CS is client in this case. And that's, will help clear up a lot of confusion. So the most important part of the strategy pattern is going to be the context. Think of the context. Have you ever called a call center and it's like, call 1 for, or press 1 for sales, press 2 to speak to a engineer, so something along those lines. Like it's a person or it's a machine that's going to direct your call. That's what the context is. The context is going to be a class, and you pass in what you want, or you tell the context what you want. And this is what's going to enable this algorithm behavior at runtime. And these are the algorithms. And even though these are in boxes, these are all methods. What we're actually going to do, and this is what kind of, throws people off, is we're going to put classes in the context. We're going to be tossing classes. I always like to use that word, tossing classes into the context. And then our I strategy, which is an interface. This isn't a class. This is an I strategy. Our I strategy is going to make it so that when we put these classes into the context, based off of polymorphism, we can execute different algorithms within these classes and within these methods, because we're not new. When we run our program, that's when these objects are going to be newed up, and that's when we're going to put these classes inside the context. And based on the context is when we're going to actually execute different algorithms, aka algorithms. And a lot of times it's just a big fancy word for we're executing different methods. And if that confused you, don't worry, because I'm going to try and make it a little bit less confusing for you. Just one less confused programmer in this world. That's all I want. Okay. I just made that up. I'm being weird. Okay, so we're going in here. We're going to go, actually, no, we're still going to make the context, make that context, but let's actually start with the I strategy first. I think that is a more appropriate place to start. And the I strategy, like I said on the whiteboard, I strategy is just going to be an interface. And I'm going to go ahead and make this public. Then I'm going to go down here, and we're going to create the methods for our I strategy. And in this case, let me see. We'll just call this execute, and we won't even give it a. Let me see. Oh, this need to make that. And we're not even going to pass any methods into it, and we're not even going to return. Let's not even return anything to make it even that much more simpler. So next thing is let's go to our context. So we go into our context, and now we want to actually bring in our I strategy. So we're going to bring in our I strategy. So we got strategy right here. Pretty simple, nothing too complicated here. Then we're going to go down here, and we're going to CTOR create a constructor, and we're going to pass in the strategy. Remember that I was talking about before, you're tossing in, I like that word, we're just tossing in as a class into this constructor, because this context is going to be what directs our classes and what directs us to the algorithm that we want to. So we're going to go in here, we're going to go strategy, then we're going to go execute, and we're going to go ahead do, oh, we don't want that down there. We actually want to go down here, and we're going to do the same thing. And instead of actually putting this into maybe like different places and we're just executing algorithms all over the place, we're just going to call this execute strategy. And we'll go in here, and because we don't need any actual, I'm just going to get rid of that so I don't confuse everybody. We actually need our strategy, our I strategy in here. And this is what's going to be where we toss in our classes. So if we toss in a ARP request, or if we toss in a DNS request, or if we toss in an SSH request, whatever, it's basically just going to go inside of here and watch this. This is so elegant. So we go here, strategy.execute, and then we're going to go just execute this just like that. And actually, let me see here, strategy.execute, and it's still wanting returns void. Let me see here. I think I got something wrong. So void execute. That is not supposed to be like that. I'm trying to figure out why it's doing that. Let me see here. Let me see, interface, void execute. Let's see, I might have to do this over. Hopefully I don't have to do this over because I really don't want to. Strategy, something's not right. And let's just see here. Because we're not returning anything, I'm just gonna leave the return value, and we'll just do it without the return. We'll just do it without the void, because I guess in a sense, that is kind of weird. It's kind of like a strange situation where, because we're not actually returning anything, I guess we can't actually return anything. And I've actually never encountered that before. So that's kind of a very strange scenario I've never seen before, but let's keep going because I think I actually got it working, and I kind of I understand like what's really going on. So we're going to go DNS. Let's go ping. Let's make a ping class. And let's go in here, and this is where we're actually going to implement our I strategy. So we go in here, implement interface, and that's when we're going to actually execute our console.writeLine and sending ping. And once again, executing fake network class, really not much to kind of explain about that. Then we're going to go into here. We're going to, let me see which one that we had. We had an ARP and a DNS. So we'll go in here and we'll go ahead and make the ARP and implement our I strategy. So go there, implement the interface. Then we go down here, console.writeLine. And we're going to go sending ARP request. And that will be our algorithm for that strategy. And always make sure you got your I strategy, because if you don't have this interface here, you're not going to be able to pass it into the context. And I've actually, there's a couple other algorithm or design pattern videos where I actually made that mistake. So be careful not to make that mistake. Then we're going to go in here and we're going to have the DNS. So we go here, you have DNS, and once again, make sure you implement the I strategy. Then we go down here, we implement the interface, and we're going to do the console.writeLine, and then we're going to go sending DNS request, sending DNS request, just like that. And we're going to close it out with a quote, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, so now we've got all of our algorithms and we've got our context set up, we've got our I strategy set up. Now we're actually going to go into our client, and I'm going to show you guys how we actually pass in these algorithms or these data structures into the context so that the iStrategy can actually implement them. So very, very simple. The only thing that we're going to do is we go in here, we're going to go context is equal to new context. And remember, when we made this context, and I'll show you what we do, and we have a red squiggly line because we have to pass in our classes. Remember how I was talking about we're not actually executing this iStrategy off of classes. We're executing it based off of methods. And here in a second, I'll give you a really good step through of the debugger, and I'll show you exactly how this is working underneath the hood. So we're going to go in here. We're going to do our ping. Doesn't matter which one that you put it, what order you put it into. I'm going to go to. So context 3 is equal to new context, and this is equal to new DNS. Okay, and then here we're going to actually we're going to new up our contexts. So first context we're going to make, watch what happens. So when we pass this in, we're passing in the ARP. It's going to initialize that ARP so that whenever we want to, we can execute these strategies. So here, so now if you look, we now have access to the execute within our strategy. See that? So our ARP is there, and then then it's going to pass in our ping into our context. The ping or the context is going to be just like the person whenever you call the cable company and they say press 1 for, think of the context as saying press, whatever for ping, and then ping's going to be able to actually execute this strategy. So, and press that. That's how that works. But we can't just stop there. We actually have to go in here. So watch. So this is the ARP context. Now we're going to go to, let's see, execute strategy. And we will see how this works. Let me see here. Execute strategy. And I spelled strategy wrong. But I think you guys kind of get the picture of how this actually works. So we're gonna go context 2. We're gonna go execute strategy. So go down here, and we're gonna do context 3. It's gonna be the same exact thing. So context 3 is equal to execute strategy. And let's step through it one more time. So I've already showed you how the phone analogy cable company works, but now watch what happens. So whenever we go into each one of these are exactly different context. So we go in here, now we can actually execute now it's executing it based on the actual object that's in here. So we've got send ARP, then we go down, it's going to do the exact same thing. It's going to go down here, and because we've populated this with the exact object that we want, we can go send ping, and it's going to do the send ping. So look at that, looking great. Then we've got context 3, execute strategy, and sending DNS request. And that's pretty much it. And like I said, not the most common, but still very good to understand. And it's very good to understand in terms of polymorphism and understanding how classes work at a fundamental level. Anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And as always, thank you for watching.